30,000 people turned out for the IFP rally at Ulundi in northern KwaZulu-Natal. At the party marked the 50th anniversary in celebrating the legacy and the strides made by the late founder, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Young and old gathered at the stadium from early this morning. Elderly IFP supporters took time to reminisce on their journey with the party, while young people say they hope the IFP's role in the Government of National Unity Coalition will enable the party to work towards creating more employment opportunities. What lies ahead for the party? We now speak to Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, political analyst. Prof. Mngomezulu, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. This is a party with a complex history and a complex existence today. It finds itself oftentimes between a rock and a hard place. It was in an awkward position, you would recall, during the government coalition negotiations, where it wasn't clear, is this a party that will throw its weight behind squarely the ANC or squarely the DA? Where does it stand? At some point before the elections, it was part of a pact with other political parties, vowing to not work with the ANC. But now it finds itself in the Government of National Unity. It's often described as a party that had an identity crisis and that could not re-identify itself after the passing of Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Has it made strides towards claiming its stake in South Africa's body politic with a renewed and identifiable political identity?
Thank you very much, Oliver, for having me, and good evening to your viewers. Maybe, first of all, before I respond to a question, let me send our condolence messages to the members of the IFP who were involved in an accident early in the morning on their way to Ulundi. But thank God that at least for now we haven't heard that there were fatalities, but those that were injured, we wish them a speedy recovery. To come back to your question, when Inkatha Yenkululeko Isizwe was formed on the 21st of March 1975, it was not a political organization. You recall, which is also the same statement that was made by Belenkosi Ntlabisa, that in fact it was going to be a cultural movement trying to revive what had happened in 1822 with King Dinizulu, who formed Inkatha KwaZulu. So basically, from the very beginning, it was never meant to be a political party. But then clandestinely, it was operating as a political party because the ANC gave it a go-ahead that in the absence of the ANC and the PAC, they should be the ones bringing together those who were in the liberation movement. As a matter of fact, many of the people in the ANC currently and some in the SABC were members of Inkatha Freedom Party, or Inkatha Yenkululeko Isizwe by then. Of course, some may deny it today, but it's a historical fact. So to answer your question then, as to whether the party has been able to project itself as a separate entity with a clearly defined identity, I'm not sure if the party has done it now, because initially it had a stronghold in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, and then after the passing of Mangosuthu Buthelezi, there have been attempts to reach out to other provinces, but I don't think they've succeeded in that area. So basically, I think that it is still trying to find its ground. Then being a member of this coalition government is something else that, in my view, should not have happened, because now it has derailed the party's plans to forge a clear identity in preparation for next year's election and for the upcoming election in 2029.
There are many political parties in South Africa that have resigned themselves to the fact that there will never be a governing party, that they are a minority interest party, whatever that minority interest may be, and they'll serve those narrow interests, whatever they may be. Is that the sort of party that the IFP should fashion itself into? A party that chooses 2 or 3 really big issues at the core of its existence, perhaps related to traditional leadership and cultural movements in the country, and stick to that as a legislative policy and political agenda? Or do you project that if it continues with greater efforts towards becoming a mass party across the country, setting up shop in other provinces like the Northwest, that they one day might become a mass party? Which strategy ought it pursue into its future?
You know what, Oliver? If you want to eat an elephant, you eat it one piece at a time. Even if the party wants to have a footprint in all 9 provinces, it must first identify provinces where it is strong. In this case, then I would say it started off well by identifying KwaZulu-Natal and then, of course, identifying Gauteng as the 2 provinces where it stands a chance of doing fairly well. And it has done fairly well in the past. Then we can introduce 2 or 3 other provinces and then see how things happen. The idea of going to all 9 provinces simultaneously, I don't think it will be a wise move. Then in terms of ideology, we have a problem with many of our political parties. If we were to take all the 52 parties that contested the 2024 general election and ask them one by one, what is your ideology that distinguishes you from other political parties? You will struggle to find a straight answer. Instead, you'll get a paragraph or even 2 pages trying to explain something that can be explained in 1 sentence. The reason is that parties are no longer built on ideology, but they are built on something else, which I don't know. So the IFP, therefore, will have to decide, like the advice you are suggesting, that let them decide on 2 or 3 main issues and then focus on those, identify 2 or 3 provinces, focus on those, and then build on those provinces in each and every election. That will be a bad strategy. Trying to bite more than you can chew is not something I would recommend.
Well, the party has had electoral decline since 1999, both nationally and in the province of KZN, but it managed to regain the reins in KZN after support from its coalition partners. But very importantly, it had an uptick in support in the last elections, 2024. That means that there's an attempt to turn around what the electoral fortunes of the party looks like. If they continue in this trajectory, they may once again become the 3rd biggest party in the country instead of being the 4th biggest party, or potentially slipping into the 5th biggest party. That being said, you problematize the IFP for having been a part of the Government of National Unity Coalition, saying that it takes the eye off the ball effectively. But if it continues to grow on this trajectory, surely it deserves to be a part of the national coalition conversation.
You know what, Oliver, the problem I have with what we have currently, what they call GNU, which is not a GNU, but a multi-party coalition, is that this is a marriage of convenience, which was dictated to the country by the outcome of the election. And it happened against the backdrop of the IFP, which already had a deal with the DA in KwaZulu-Natal. And then, of course, if you look at the campaigns of all these political parties, let's say, for example, we stick to the ANC, the DA, and the IFP. If you look at their election manifestos before the election and then now after the election, they are singing in different tunes. Some were clear that they were not going to go into bed with the ANC because the ANC was made up of corrupt people, people who were stealing from the masses and so on and so forth. Suddenly, they are working with them, they are voting with them, and then how do we explain that?
Yeah.
For me, what would have worked well for the IFP would be to say, we have a problem in KwaZulu-Natal specifically, then other provinces like Gauteng and Mpumalanga, where the MK party has caused an upset. We were on the upward trajectory, and then the MK party has in fact derailed our plans. Let us focus on rebuilding ourselves as a party and project ourselves as an alternative in 2026 and 2029. But by agreeing to be part of this multi-party coalition, I think that has delayed that process. And now there are people from within the IFP who are not happy with this participation in the multi-party coalition.
Prof. Mngomezulu, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Professor Bheki Mngomezulu is a political analyst.